Malignant was written and directed by James Wan, who directed such horror movies as Saw, Insidious and Insidious Chapter 2, The Conjuring 2. He also directed the superhero blockbuster Aquaman. He also directed another horror movie, Dead Silence. And using that second word, please join me in a moment of silence as I pour one out for Malignant. There are two types of James Wan horror movies. The Conjuring 2, which I do own, and Dead Silence. And if you followed this channel for a while, I tend to be picky with some horror movies, but generally I try to give everything a chance. And Dead Silence had a really good idea and poor execution, but it had great set design, and it had some really spooky atmosphere, and also didn't know what the fuck it wanted to do by about halfway through the goddamn movie. There are some people who liked it, some people that didn't. I was really excited for Malignant. It's available on HBO Max as well as in theaters, and since I have an HBO Max subscription, I sat at home and I watched this, and I'm really goddamn excited because I'm like, okay, this is looking atmospheric, it's looking like The Conjuring 2, and James Wan understands horror. He really understands how to do the horror genre. Even though I shat on a lot of Dead Silence, he got some things right. And with Malignant, I was really stoked to see what he could do. It was also written by Ingrid Bizu and Akela Cooper. Ingrid Bizu was in, and I hope I'm pronouncing that right, I apologize if not, she was in The Nun, and also she plays a cop in this as well. Gotta say, beautiful actress, and there's a lot of really cool people in this. It does have Annabelle Wallis playing Madison, or Maddie for short. She was in the 2014 Annabelle movie, which I also own, and I also recently retro-reviewed. She was good in that, despite the fact that the movie pretty much gave up about 30 minutes in, but it was also from the director of Mortal Kombat Annihilation, so you really can't expect anything great. And also had Maddie Hayson playing Sydney. Hello, Sydney, from We Summon the Darkness, which I did enjoy, and came out last year. George Young, who played Detective Kikoa, and Regina, who's played by Michelle Brianna White, and I'm trying to get these names right because sometimes I tend to just screw these names up. And also, Jean Louisa Kelly played Jane Doe, and also an important character once her name is revealed later in the movie. There's other actors as well, and it's a hodgepodge of ideas, and I was really excited to see how they would pull this off because it looked like a really cool idea. Like, holy shit, Annabelle Wallis is having to deal with a lot of fucked up shit. Like, what's going on in this movie? She's being haunted by something. She's had a whole lot of, weird stuff happen in her life that gets revealed later on. I'll do spoilers a little bit later in the review. But basically, to keep it spoiler-free for right now, it opens at a hospital that looks like stately Wayne Manor. Seriously, the thing's so goddamn gigantic. It's like it was built in the 1600s, and they just decide, hey, we're just going to keep this here at literally the edge of the goddamn world. It takes like about 8 years to drive up there, but people are there, and it's hospital staff trying to help, people that are sick that either, have something going on in their head or, diseases, horrible stuff and everything. And this doctor gets on this, video camera and basically says Gabriel is becoming more malicious. Well, who is Gabriel? What is Gabriel? Better yet, why is Gabriel? But anyway, through a series of events there, it turns out that Gabriel kind of, wanted to go and fuck shit up for whatever goddamn reason that we find out a little bit later. And then smash cut to present day with Annabelle Wallis' character Maddie driving a station wagon from at least the late 70s, if not the mid 70s. It wasn't quite the one where you could fit about 18 football fields in there, but it was still pretty old. Seriously, could you not have afforded something a little bit more current? And she's kind of having a bit of a tough time. She's got a pregnancy, and she's got a boyfriend that's kind of a dick, let's just say that much. And then through another series of events, things happen where she starts getting haunted by something that may or may not be there. It could be all in her head, but she's got her sister, Sydney. Good performance by Maddie Hayson, by the way, or Hassan. I think I might have screwed that one up as well. She, lends a little bit of levity to this. The performances actually in this movie aren't all that bad, and then layers get peeled back, and we find out why Maddie is the way she is, why she's experiencing these things, why people may or may not believe her, and she has a loving family. But then there's a second act twist. It's like, oh no, we totally didn't see this coming. So now I'm just going to say right now that I was very disappointed in this movie after like about the first 40 to 50 minutes. There's some really good setup and some really good stuff where it's like, okay, they're getting the horror aspect right. And then it switches genres where it just becomes kind of action-y horror and stuff like that. It was like people just gave up and they said, okay, this isn't working. Let's just go in this direction for no goddamn reason. Then let's go back to the horror and we'll lock people in. No, they pretty much just ended up going in a bunch of different directions without having a lot of cohesion, and while they were trying to have something that was this grand sweeping story, it turned out to just be a bunch of ideas that never really came together. And that happens when you have three different people writing the goddamn movie. And I'm not even knocking this, I'm not even knocking Ingrid or Miss Cooper or Mr. Cooper, maybe hanging with Mr. Cooper, I don't know, or James Wan, who has proven himself to be a good writer. Sometimes things just don't come together, and that's what happened here. And I became more annoyed, especially with a certain, sequence, like a chase sequence about halfway through the movie. If you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. Where I'm like, okay, the movie's starting to lose me, but maybe it'll get me back. And then, no, it just ended up pretty much being what I thought. I actually figured this out a lot quicker than I probably should have, but that's because I've seen a whole lot of horror movies. And I'm sure a lot of other people can. They can probably figure it out as well. That's not even the worst thing. Predictability doesn't mean that a movie is bad, because there's only so many ways to do different ideas or different twists on ideas before you tread familiar ground. But with the right people, the director and the actors and everything, usually you can have stuff come together. And this is much closer to Dead Silence with good ideas and horrible execution than it was The Conjuring and The Conjuring 2. And I know some people are down the Conjuring universe movies, and yes, it is a universe because there's about 18 of them. Actually, I think only about 9, but still. This is easily right there. And while it's not part of the Conjuring universe, if I had to make a comparison, it is definitely around the Nun or Annabelle level, where it has a good beginning, it has some good setup, and then it just totally bottoms the fuck out. And that's really, really fucking infuriating. There are some good gore effects, and there are a few cool moments, but a lot of it just feels empty. I don't really care about any of the characters, and I'm like, okay, there's stuff that is happening, and then maybe it's not. Maybe it's all in somebody's head. Maybe this stuff is really happening, but who really gives a shit, because the director clearly didn't and nobody else did. Let's just do stuff and throw more shit and have more violent stuff happen, because we can make it like, a Matrix-y-like fight and everything. We can have all this cool stuff happen, but it just feels empty, it just feels hollow, and doesn't really mean much of anything. So now I am going to get into spoilers, and these spoilers won't take very long, but if you have an HBO Max subscription, maybe you'll feel differently. I don't know. I just was very, very disappointed by Malignant because it had such a cool idea and it had piss poor execution. So now we're getting into spoilers. Okay, 3, 2, 1, 1, go. Spoilers. Okay, so let's get into the spoilers here. So that hospital scene, there's Gabriel. And he kills a bunch of people, a bunch of hospital staff. They have to sedate him. Why are they sedating him? Why can't we really see Gabriel? Why does he look like a weird alien that they found in the PT demo? And if you remember the PT demo, you know what I'm talking about. It's a weird fetus. Oh my god, what the hell's going on? Smash cut 2. Maddie getting abused by her boyfriend because she's pregnant. It turns out she's actually lost kids before and gets her head bashed against the wall because he's an abusive dick. And then late that night, he finds out that the blender's running and that all this other stuff is happening and everything, and all this weird electrical stuff is going on, because earlier in the hospital scene, weird electrical stuff is shorting out. How in the world would Gabriel have these powers over electricity? Maybe he's part of the power grid. It's like, get to the power station. Wait, this isn't Robot Holocaust? Thank fuck. Basically, he ends up getting killed by, this shadowy figure that turns out to be Gabriel. So it turns out that Gabriel basically is this vicious killer and everything, but shrouded and has this weird face and stuff like that. And oh my god, like, why is he doing this? What is going on? And Sydney, it turns out, is actually she greets, or doesn't greet necessarily, she tries to console Maddie in the hospital, because after this beating and after her, boyfriend, husband, whatever died, she lost her kid. So that's her, third miscarriage in 2 goddamn years. That's pretty goddamn brutal to go through. Like, oh, that's nice. This is really great. It's not. It's a fucking terrible thing for women to go through, and I've had friends that have, and it's just absolutely goddamn ridiculous that anybody would think that's not something you really can get over. But the movie doesn't really focus on that. I mean, it tries to bring it back a little bit later for an emotional tie-in, but by then it's way too fucking late. There's this overlying theme, like back in the hospital scene, where the doctor says it's time to cut out the cancer. Like, what kind of cancer? So that gets referenced a little bit later. Madison can't remember anything before she was 8 because she was adopted. And then we go to, it's set in Seattle, by the way, so we get so many Seattle landmarks, like a sky view of the Space Needle. And we also get the Seattle Underground. It's like the old New York thing that New York was built on in Futurama. Yes, we have that in Seattle. And let me tell you right now, there are many areas of, of current Seattle that really kind of match that because, yeah, Seattle is a beautiful city in some parts and not in others. Also very expensive. Be careful, that you don't have to take out a small car loan to pay for parking. So then this lady's doing these tours or whatever. Clang, clang, clang went the trolley. Gabriel's taking you up to some weird layer to capture all of you. Okay, couldn't do that song, but why is Gabriel capturing this random woman? It's his mother. It's his goddamn mother. That's what it turns out to be. So, Maddie starts having these weird things going on. Like, what the hell's going on? She's having sleep paralysis and seeing these weird things where the room melts. It all goes woo, and then she's seeing these people killed. She sees this Dr. Weaver killed, the one that says, time to cut out the cancer. And that's what Gabriel does. He actually breaks off a trophy and stabby, 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 stabby. That didn't look like stabbing. I apologize. And basically, there's, again, good gore effects. That's the one thing this movie gets right, besides a couple decent performances. And then basically, he captures this woman. We don't find out who this woman is for a while. I gotta say, Ingrid Bizu, she's fucking beautiful. She's absolutely beautiful. She delivers a decent performance here as a supporting character. She also loves Detective Young. As you can tell, she's like hitting on him like goddamn crazy. And then Maddie tells Sydney if she saw the killer, and through a series of events, she says, hey, this stuff happened. There's an old man that got killed. He got killed in this apartment. Okay, let's go here. So these two detectives, I'm going to say one thing about this movie, though. They got the detectives actually going out and doing stuff. They got Seattle PD staying around, which actually does kind of line up, because there's only so much that they can do when they're not giving a shit. And they try to make it seem like it's easy to get around Seattle and there's no traffic. Fucking horseshit, continuity error, and big problem. That was no goddamn good. The movie continues to stumble down a goddamn flight of stairs. Gabriel basically has a great phone plan, I've realized. Let's just continue to pour one out here because this just gets more ridiculous. He calls her and everything. Hello, Emily. You'll always be Emily to me. Why is he calling, Maddie Emily? Well, that's the name they gave you. And I know you better than you know yourself. Okay. So, he says you're not my real family. What the hell's going on here? We see a bunch of old videos where Maddie and Sydney's actual mom and Maddie's adopted mom show her home videos and of her 9th birthday right after she got adopted. And that she's talking to Gabriel and everything on a phone because he can communicate through electronic devices, but he can't communicate otherwise. And we thought if we gave you enough love that it would get rid of Gabriel and you would be okay. And we were hoping we were right. So Emily is Gabriel. Gabriel is Emily. Einhorn is Finkel. Finkel is Einhorn. Ugh. So then another doctor gets killed because why the fuck wouldn't he? There were some good violent deaths in this. And then we see another home video and a flashback thing where Sydney's mother's pregnant, adopted mother's pregnant, and that's with Sydney because Sydney wasn't born yet. Sydney's a lot younger than her. And she was staying over trying to cut the cake, and then the room melted, and she was staying over her pregnant adopted mother. And it was like, why? I can't do this. Because Gabriel's like, I need to keep a hold of her because if somebody else gets born, she's going to love her or love them, and I'm going to be out of the goddamn picture. And that's why he's doing this shit. Seriously, it is a conjoined twin. It was a parasitic twin that is doing this stuff. Not an imaginary friend. Nope, a parasitic twin. They couldn't do the imaginary friend thing because hide and seek already did that shit. They had to do the parasitic twin thing. That maybe is in control, maybe not. Maybe who gives a shit? I mean, the movie just starts chucking action at us. At one point, Detective Young, he's chasing after, Gabriel through like a bunch of streets and underground stuff and everything. And there's all these horse-drawn carriages that are just sitting around. I guess apparently, they just decided to store them for safekeeping and said, well, fuck it, we don't have any horses. We don't have whiskey for our horses either. Goddamn country music. Let's just build on top of it. So, they're unlocking repressed memories and stuff like that, and it turns out that through this medium or whatever it was. It was kind of like trying to put elements of Insidious just without the Darth Maul ghost behind the guy. And yeah, this just tumbles further and further downhill. It gets ridiculous. It turns out that Emily's mother and Emily and Gabriel's mother was the kids were a product of a sexual assault. That's the only word I'm going to use. Please do not use the actual word in the comments, please. Let's not trigger anything. And that Gabriel was parasitic and everything, and he was like on the back of Emily. So why the hell? That's why that's why the head trauma is affecting her, because it turns out that hitting her on the back of the head triggered what was left of Gabriel in her head. Okay, why the fuck not? Here's a question. Why didn't you just remove every goddamn thing there? Why didn't you laser it off? 1993? You're telling me that the hospitals couldn't have gotten that kind of shit? You couldn't have radiated it out? I mean, granted, that might have done something to her brain. No, they just decide, okay, this clearly, a psychic human being, or barely human being, they can do all this kind of shit and is controlling her. Let's just cut what we can and push the rest into her skull. That'll fucking work. Except it didn't fucking work. It made the movie worse. It made the movie more ridiculous. And sometimes like, oh, that shocking thing, that could push it over here and it could be great. Once again, pouring one out still for this goddamn movie. God damn. Should have gotten a bucket instead of a trash can. So, Gabriel's calling her and dogging her about this stuff. And so, this woman, the mother captured, it turns out was not in the Seattle Underground, but in the attic of Maddie / Emily's house. She drops through and everything after this medium thing, and they're like, well, we're gonna have to arrest you because we think that you might have had something to do with the deaths or whatever, but it turns out you didn't. But keeping somebody there that clearly you didn't know was there, you're getting arrested for that, because murder we can overlook. Kidnapping, no, you gotta fucking go. And we find out about the parasitic twin thing. She's locked in jail. And then we see more videos and everything, and it turns out all this stuff of him controlling her, and that's why she's seeing all this stuff and hearing all these voices. And then she basically kills every single prisoner to death, as opposed to not killing them to death. I don't know why I said it like that. And lots of violence. I mean, just destroying every typical cliche there. Women with mullets. Some woman from a 70s, like disco movie. I don't even know what the hell that was about. A bunch of people that get killed for just no reason. Just a bunch of stock characters that get killed. Just to show that, oh, the parasitic thing's in the back of the head, and oh no, Gabriel's taking over. And then they do the backwards thing, and the backwards man. Oh God, I hate myself for reminding myself of that. But now you can't unhear it. And she's doing this and fighting and everything and bending her hands all around and beating people up and It kind of looks like a contortionist having, a bit of a fit and everything. Like, you did this to me, you bastard. All right, and then basically breaks out and everything. And, well, we get a fight in the Seattle PD station and everything, and it's more Matrix, Malarkey. And while the character Winnie is just hiding downstairs because she's got the evidence and everything, and I don't blame her, the two main detectives get both knocked out and slashed, and then she's got to check on the one that got slashed, while Detective Young, who got his arm broken seemingly in a chair, and other stuff, is chasing afterwards. Just chasing after Madison / Emily / Gabriel / why the fuck am I still even watching this goddamn thing? It's atrocious. The mother says, I should have never given you away. You were my son. And then, well, it turns out that everybody's there, and this whole idea is that Gabriel's been controlling her thoughts. But it turns out that Maddie turns the tables, and nobody got shot. Because it looked like Sydney got shot. Oh, great. The one that was in We Summon the Darkness. The good actress got shot. No. It turns out that Gabriel suddenly got locked away. Maddie has taken control of her abilities. So why the fuck didn't she do that before all this shit happened? If she had that power in her by now, or before now, why didn't she use it before? Like, seriously, a lot of people fucking died and you just fucking let this shit happen. And then he's trapped there forever, and we're probably getting a goddamn sequel. Once again, pouring the rest of this out. This movie gets a fucking F. Because it was great, actually, for the first 40 minutes. I was like, okay, I'm about ready to give this a BB+ and stuff like that. And then, okay, maybe an A minus and everything, and then like, okay, no, the chase scene knocks it down to about a B, and then B minus, C plus, C. Okay, this is getting worse, and finally F. One of the worst movies, one of the most disappointing movie I've seen this year. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Ritlin. I'll see you soon.